What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video. We're going to look at a Nokhud offensive plus 10 that I did. I'm just going to run you through the dungeon on my Frost DK and show you how you can sort of help contribute to your team as a Frost DK. Just a disclaimer on everything that's going on. I am 500 item level now, but it's sort of a little bit deceiving because I don't really have a good weapon, which for melee characters, it adds a tremendous amount of damage if you get weapon damage in particular. Obviously getting strength is really good and all that stuff, but like it's different than intellect users who just need to get, like spellcasters that just need to get more intellect, right? For, you know, melee guys, we got to get more weapon damage. So that's a big problem. And then I have a tank trinket still. I was using the Knoll trinket right now. I was using a bunch of different trinkets. I'm going to get a better trinket soon. It doesn't really matter. I'm also learning Frost DK, getting a little bit better at it, but there's still some struggles. So my damage is much lower than it ought to be in this dungeon, and that's a lot of that's on me, and I'm going to get better at doing it. But mostly in the video, I want to talk about what, you know, we're doing with Frost DK in a Nokhud offensive and how you can help to contribute to making the dungeon a lot smoother for your team. There's a lot of individual decisions that you can make that are going to help you be successful. So yeah, these are my talents here. Nothing really too crazy. I do have two-piece, the new two-piece. So I've switched over to Frostworm's Fury. I'm not running Chill Streak anymore. I think that is definitely contributing to my single target damage being a lot lower. But once I get the new 4-piece, then I should be off to the races. Yes, I experimented with Empowered Room Weapon. Normally this would be the build that you do right here. I was just experimenting with 2 charges on Empowered Room Weapon. You know, that's all. We're just kind of giving that a little shot. So let's see what it looks like. On this opening pack, I forgot to reset my details meters, so it's on the overall numbers right now, so you're not going to see my numbers. But the main thing you want to be doing here is kicking Disruptive Shout. You're going to see that come up from the big guys. One of the biggest problems with this pack for Frost DK is that you want to put your D&D down, but they do their big stomp. So you need to sort of be careful where you're putting your Death and Decay in order to maximize your damage. Otherwise, you're just going to literally waste an entire charge of it because it's going to be inside of a stomp, like you can see right here. This stomp is covering my whole D&D, so I completely screwed myself right there. There's Disruptive Shout. You want to get that as much as you possibly can. Very important to get that. But that's how this pack works. You blow all your big AoE cooldowns, you do as much damage as you can, and you try and dance around these war stomps with your Death and Decay, with everything. It's actually a very anti-melee. It's just a hard pack in general, but you can do it. You just have to be a little bit more careful about where your Death and Decay is going. And then the rest of these packs are pretty similar. There's nothing really crazy about all of them. Rally the Clan, you can actually grip that guy out of Rally the Clan, which is really nice. There's another Disruptive Shout to get. The freeze from Frostworm's Fury is really good. There's a Rally the Clan out there. Unfortunately, I used all my Death Grips already, so I can't get this Rally, but normally you should save Death Grip to get that Rally right out there. Not only to pull that guy in, but to stop him from casting that spell, because it's going to buff everybody. So in a second here, I get Slappy Hands going, and I'm able to start pulling guys in and interrupting the spell casts that are going off. You can't obviously interrupt the Disruptive Shout unless you have an actual kick, but you can stop the other guys from shooting. You can stop them from doing all the different spells. I don't even know how I died there, but anyway, we move on. We'll go to the first boss, Granyth. Let me just skip ahead here. There we go. Here's Granyth. So on this boss fight, it's actually really critical that you have your Chains of Ice spell down here. You can see it's my control 2. You're going to slow this guy down, this ad, and you're also going to grip him if he gets too far. But the slow is the big thing. You can also take the talent where your Death and Decay will slow enemies inside of it by 90%. Although, to be honest, our class tree doesn't really have any room to take extra talents like that. Honestly, I was trying to find out. I was like, whoa, what talent could I actually drop to take this? There's not really one you can take. So in this particular case, the Chains of Ice is more than sufficient. And if you have other classes that you're with that can do single target stuns, like a Hunter Intimidation or Paladin with their Hammer of Justice, then you can just do it that way. You can also freeze this mob with your Frostworm's Fury. Very, very easy to do that. So I think that DK has a great time on this fight, being able to crowd control the enemy that keeps coming in. It's fantastic. One thing that Lynx was showing us was that you basically kill the first couple of ads on this fight, and then you actually just let you permanently CC one of them, and then you let the rest of them actually just run right through and start dismantling the weapons. It's kind of hard to explain right here, but if you crowd control this first one, then he won't get to the weapon that he's trying to get to, which means you can use that weapon. And then the next ad that spawns will be desynced from the weapons that you're actually using. And you can essentially go for the rest of the fight. The next 3 mobs that spawn, you're good to go. You can go keep hitting the crossbows and it's not an issue. So as long as you have enough damage to finish the fight before the next 3 ads spawn, you can actually, so you can see we just fired this crossbow over here and now the ad is going to that crossbow. So see, he's going there, but it doesn't matter. Now this guy, I thought we had to slow him down, but we don't have to because it doesn't matter. We're just going to be able to kill the boss in time anyway. So there's a strategy you can use here, I think, where... Oh, no, we are killing him. Sorry. There's a strategy you can use here to kind of desync the mobs and make it work. I don't think we executed it perfectly here, but just know that there is something there to make that fight a little bit better. Then we're on to the storm area. There isn't anything really too special here. If you have big cooldowns, you can start on this pack here, which is where you traditionally start. But if you have a lot of big cooldowns, you can actually go start on the waterfall pack, and it's going to be more efficient for you. So here you just want to be interrupting, Stormbolt as much as you can. Use your freeze from Frostworm's Fury to stop these guys from casting. And then I think this is a pretty good dungeon. Tempest is a big cast you want to get. I think this is a pretty good dungeon to take AMZ, actually. And I'm a little sad I didn't have AMZ. Instead, I had the speed increase on my Death's Advance. But I think AMZ is actually a really, really good take in this dungeon because there's so much nature damage that ends up being inflicted by almost every mob in this dungeon. So there's Tempest. You want to kick this or grip it. Unfortunately, it's raging weak. So I tried to grip this guy right here, but he's too low. I forgot that it was raging. I didn't have a kick available. I finally got it up at the last second there. And then the priest just mass dispels, which was good. But just know Tempest is what you're looking for. That's the main problem in all of these packs is the Tempest spell. You need to interrupt it. You need to kick it. You need to stun it repeatedly. That is what you need to be doing in order to make this pack go smoothly. And again, use your death grips liberally. Use them a lot. If it's not raging weak, then you can always just pull these mobs and it will stop them from casting Tempest and Stormbolt and all these really dangerous abilities. So make sure that you're doing that. That's really important. Okay, let's get to the Raging Tempest. This boss is very difficult. One of the hardest bosses, I think, on Tyrannical Week across any dungeon. Watch how much damage this initial ability does here. Look at this. Kitty's almost dead. I'm at 25. Vistera's at 25. Sleep's almost dead. That's from one cast of that thing. It's insane. So the basic strategy on this boss is that your healer at the beginning of the fight needs to collect 10 orbs right away. If you don't know, the orbs give you a buff that's going to buff your damage and your healing. Before this electrical storm comes out, you want your healer to get as many orbs as possible. Okay, as many. Kitty's got 6 here, which is okay, but not really good enough. You really want to have 10 to make it easier for you because it means your healing gets dramatically increased. As far as us for Frosty K, we really should never die on this fight. You can always obliterate into Death Strike if you absolutely don't have any defensives that you want to use. I saved both of my defensives here. I used my AMS, but I didn't use Lichborn or Icebound Fortitude, so I'll have those for the upcoming storms, which is really, really good. So we basically have a defensive for every single storm, and you just want to make sure you're collecting orbs. Try to keep your orbs going as much as possible. There is a way to keep your orb stacks high during the electrical storm and actually be able to collect 1 orb after the storm is done to refresh your stacks back up to 10. That's really the pro strat here. So you can see the storm is happening right now. I just collected an orb right there. I should have waited actually to collect that orb. I should have let it almost get all the way into the boss and then collected the orb at the last possible second, and it would have refreshed my stacks. And then once he's done storm, he waits a couple of seconds right now, you can see, and my stacks are almost falling off. Okay. If I waited a little bit longer, my stacks would have more time. He's going to send out some orbs right now. And these are the orbs that I could have collected, but my stacks fell off. You can see on my raid frame there. So there's a strat where you want to make sure you're collecting an orb at the very last second and then you're going to be able to refresh those stacks and keep your damage flowing. So again, my damage was really, really bad on that fight. Something that I just have to work on. My damage was abysmal. I don't think it's just because Frosty K is like terrible. I don't think Frosty K is certainly like S tier or anything, but there's stuff that I'm not playing very well. I'm kind of screwing that up. So okay, we're on to like the haunted spirits area with Teera and Maruuk. We do a pretty big pull right here with drums. We actually didn't have lust, we just had drums, so I popped drums. And then we kind of pop off here. Again, there are mobs here that are going to do big swirlies on the ground. Wow, big shocker. You're going to have to make sure that you wait for your death and decay. Plan to put your death and decay off to the side, okay? So that you can actually maximize your D&D uptime with your obliterates. Otherwise, you're going to be doing literally 0 damage. So here, I actually did this pretty well, and we're doing a decent amount of damage right now. Okay, so this is kind of... Again, I'm learning. I hope you guys are learning as well. This is like what I need to be getting, doing correctly with my placement of D&D. And you know, our damage is okay. Obviously, it can always be better. But this was me playing better than I had been playing before on some of the AoE packs. Just know the basic rule of thumb that I have found after doing like 50 or 60 dungeons already in season 4. You need to actually just wait on your D&D for a minute. You need to just hold it. Get your Remorseless Winter up, get your dot going, do a couple glacial advances with your Pillar of Frost window to get like even get 2 charges of the Killing Machine buff going. Then drop your D&D when you know that it's safe, when you know that you can absolutely drop it, and you know that it's going to actually give you 4 or 5 obliterates without being interrupted. If you can't get, I would say, at least 5 obliterates inside of every death and decay, then you should not have dropped that death and decay. Does that make sense? You need to get, I would say, at least 5 of the empowered ones if you can. Obviously, if your Pillar of Frost timing isn't quite ready yet, then you know, and you have to spend your runes, then you want to spend your obliterate runes there. But that would be my word to the wise. There is try to get at least 5 obliterates inside of your D&D window. Make sure you place it in a way that you can actually maximize that. Okay, it's really important. The most dangerous mobs on these different packs are, of course, the birds. I think we just skipped past them. Let me just finish right here. These birds here do Rotting Wind. This Rotting Wind became the most dangerous cast probably in this whole dungeon. Okay, so as a death knight, you can grip them like I just did right there. You just do little mini grips. I interrupted this one, okay, and then this one's going to be casting in a second. I'm like, oh, I don't have another interrupt. Maybe nobody has an interrupt. I can help our team here by gripping this guy with my death grip. Boom, there we go, and he's going to stop. There's a third Rotting Wind going off now. I didn't get to this one in time. Unfortunately, that went off. I need to get a better plater profile. I don't actually have plater, but I need to get better nameplates. Point is, you can use your death grips like that. It's a really quick GCD. It's not going to cost you a lot of damage, and it's going to save your team a tremendous amount of incoming damage. Your healer is going to love you. Okay, here's another interrupt or a grip there. On Fortified Week, these birds are going to own you. They're going to own all of us, okay? You cannot let those casts go off, or else you'll just take way too much damage, and you're literally gonna wipe the key. So there's more birds here. Again, Chant of the Dead. I need to make sure I place my D&D outside of that. Make sure I grip this Rotting Wind. There we go. This is me contributing as a Death Knight, and yes, even if my damage is a little bit lower, I know that I can really help the team by making sure that everybody's safe from the Rotting Wind. The healer will really, honestly, thank you. It's a really big deal. Okay, let's get to Teera and Maruuk. We kill all these platforms. This fight is absolute garbage for us. It is really bad, okay? Basically, at the beginning of the fight, you don't want to drop Death and Decay because she's about to jump. Every time Teera jumps, you want to then throw your D&D down so you can get the cleave, okay? We have a really good 2-target cleave here, but the reality is, like, there's so many, like, moments that interrupt us from doing our damage. Like, I have to go out and stack here with the rest of the group, so I'm stacking for the wins so we don't take as much damage. Unfortunately, Sleep dies somehow. I'm not sure. Maybe I killed him. I'm not sure. Sleep ends up dying, and then I want to go in and do damage, but now she's going to leap, so I jump over here, and I'm like, okay, now it's safe to drop D&D, right? I have to res Sleep first. So I want to drop my D&D, but then she's gonna leap again, and he does frightful roar. So I'm like, okay, now if I drop my D&D right there, that would have been bad. So now I drop my D&D right here, and then he does repel, and now I have to literally get out of melee because he does the stupid earthquake thing that's gonna own me if I stand inside of it. So I'm trying to get my death and decay. I'm trying to stay in my D&D and get my obliterates off, but I'm not close enough. Holy crap, this fight is actually so awful for Death Knight. You have to have like really high mobility. You can't get good damage out of your death and decay. I'm trying my absolute hardest here, and it is really difficult to get any damage out of this. So this fight, I think you just do your best, guys. You just do your best. This fight is really miserable for Frosty K, I'm telling you right now. So do your best. It's up to you guys. I would say after she leaps is the best time to throw your D&D down and try and maximize this window. Kind of right here is what you're looking for. Try and maximize it as much as you possibly can. It's just a really difficult fight for us. Defensively, though, once again, I showed this in my other video with Frosty K that I did yesterday. Defensively, we're so strong, man. We're getting quick shotted here, and it doesn't even matter. We just death strike to keep ourselves up. There's her leap. We end up finishing off this fight with the tank. I can just death strike to stay alive. I mean, I'm the only one that she's quick shotting, right? So we're tanky, but some of these fights just royally screw us over. Like, it is really difficult to do these fights well. Here's the last two mobs. We get 2 target cleave. A word of advice here: you want to make them charge into this wall down here. Okay, he's charging away from the wall right now. That's a bit of a miss. Not bad though. You want to slowly work the mobs in towards this wall, and then you want the charge to go into this wall so that he has no travel time basically at all. So we need, actually, our other person over here should move in. I think that's Kitty, but it's okay. You want everybody to be close to this wall. Here's the charge. This is a perfect charge. Boom, he hits the wall. He goes nowhere. You can keep doing maximum damage on these mobs. Okay, that's what you really want to do if you're wondering what the strategy is to keep these guys together for that maximum 2 target cleave. And then here's the last boss, Balakar Khan. We have 6.5 minutes to do him. We have 1% to get at the end, but that's okay. Basic strategy for Balakar Khan is to use this rock behind us. You're going to see this rock over here. I'll show you what I mean in a second. He does his initial charge at an enemy. If you stand behind this rock, he won't hit you with his charge. He'll hit the rock instead, and it will actually save you some damage. Now, in P2, the spear that he throws doesn't matter, but here's the spear. It's going to do a little bit of damage to sleep, and then the charge, it doesn't matter. Even if you like weren't able to dodge away from the charge in time, he's going to hit the rock, okay? So that's a safe way to do the charge. You're guaranteed not to get hit by that charge. That's really helpful. And then the main thing that we want to think about as a Death Knight is when to use slappy hands. And I'm holding my slappy hands once it comes off cooldown. I'm going to use it once we get to the intermission to bring in all the mobs that are trying to cast lightning bolt during the storm. It is the most dangerous part of this fight. It is incredibly, incredibly deadly. You have to be very careful with it. I'm holding my slappy hands for that moment. Here comes the spear plus the charge. No big deal. Now here comes the phase, okay? Now Lynx told me that he's a vengeance DH, so he's going to be able to pull in all the mobs. Basically, he silences them and then pulls them in with chains. So I'm holding my slappy hands here. Normally, if I had a different tank, like a guardian druid or a monk or whatever, I would use my slappy hands right now, and I would start pulling in all the mobs, which prevents them from casting and also is going to bring them together really quickly. But now he's able to do a chain, so I pop slappy hands right now, and then I sort of backpedal a little bit with my slappy hands with abomination limb so that I can pull these guys out of their storm bolts like that. Boom, just like that. So you can kind of walk the line, you kind of back up a little bit, skirt that line so that your slappy hand actually has something to grab to stop the storm bolts from going off. That's a good way to deal with that phase right there. Now, this is obviously the most dangerous. Well, I just said it was the most dangerous part of the intermission. I think this is less dangerous than the intermission, but it's still very, very deadly. He does a charge here, and this was bugged, I think. Somebody told me in the comments they think this was bugged. So I think that, like, does Sleep die here? Yeah, Sleep just dies. I think there's a bug going on where he throws the spear, okay? He throws the spear at one person. That one person takes spear damage, and then everybody else takes damage and gets yoinked to where the spear person is, right? So we all take a little bit of damage there. I think the game is bugged, and I think that Sleep there took the spear damage and also took the AoE damage that everybody else takes when they get sucked in. And I don't think he's supposed to. I think you're only supposed to take either the spear damage or the part where he pulls you in. So this happens to me in a minute, I think, too. I think I get it right here. I think I die as well. So I popped my Lichborn, which is 15% damage reduction. I have 1.1 million health, and I die. So there's no way that should happen. You can see here, I think the static spear hit me twice, right? There it is right there. 800k, 400k. I don't think it's supposed to be doing that. You're only supposed to get hit by one or the other. So if that's a bug that you've also been experiencing, then you know, that sucks for everybody. I think he battle roses me here. Yeah, I get back up. Then we kill the boss. That's the main part about that fight. It's mostly on the intermission. As a Frost DK, use your Abomination Limb to bring all those guys in. Use your grips if you need to. Whatever you need to do to interrupt them from casting those lightning bolts is very important. And then we kill this last group, and we get I got 43 rating for that, so pretty insane. My overall damage is, of course, really bad, as I talked about before. That's just the way it's kind of been right now. I need a weapon really, really badly. I'm still at a 486 weapon, so anything would be an upgrade at this point. But that's it, guys. That is the Frost DK in a Nokhud offensive +10. Again, this is the build that I ran. Nothing really too crazy here. Getting 2 charges of Death Grip from Death's Echo is pretty essential. Of course, you're always going to take this talent anyway to get 2 charges of Death and Decay, but just a note that this gives you a second charge. Very, very important. And then Chains of Ice was really good on the first boss. Remember that ad that comes through? You can Chains of Ice that ad. That's really, really important. And then, yeah, the rest of your CC for the rest of the dungeon is just really awesome. I think Death Grip is really an MVP crowd control for me, and I think that more people should consider it to be really, really strong. I know people think it's strong, but honestly, it's way stronger than I even realized it was. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I just wanted to give you some tips and tricks on how to beat a Nokhud offensive, and from a Frost DK's perspective, that's kind of what it looks like. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Love y'all. I will see you in the next one.